What's up, guys? Coach Jestyn with PNWBJJ, and I'm super excited about today's episode. I'm here with Professor Jeff Macatangay of Isla Jiu Jitsu in Federal Way, Washington. And if you guys are here locally or you're visiting, I would highly suggest coming out here to visit them. They've got an amazing facility, really good people, and you'll get great roles in. Thank you, my friend, for coming on the channel. I appreciate it. Looking forward to what you have to show us. Do you want to talk a little bit about yourself and what brought you to Jiu Jitsu, and a little bit about Isla and what you guys are all about here?
Well, thank you for having us again. It's an honor to be a part of this whole program and this whole episode that you guys have on your YouTube. What started me training Jiu Jitsu was basically I was in the customer service industry. I caught myself taking care of customers more than I was actually taking care of my family. There was a lot of when you're dealing with customers, you cater to them, and I always was doing that aggressively. And when I was doing that, I kind of caught myself when I was done with work. I wasn't a real good husband because I was too busy talking to people all the time that I kind of needed that time away. Needed some kind of outlet, right? And this is where Jiu Jitsu came to play.
Awesome.
So that's what started. A good friend of mine, David Valoria, brought a gi in for me one day and to go check out a class. And ever since that gi was provided for me and I tried that first class, I never took the gi off. So still in it today.
Cool.
Consistently.
Yeah. No, I feel that for sure. So it's been a great outlet for you as far as like that ability to go and you started training, and was that under Gracie Barra at the time, or how has your journey evolved that way as far as?
No worries, man. So when we first started, we rented a spot at a Taekwondo gym up here in Federal Way. It was Master Kim who was running the school, a Taekwondo school. We would take the class. We'd do the class right after his class was done. It was late at night. I believe it was, we were starting like at 7:30, 8 o'clock, all up to 9 for the hour. And this was with Professor Kevin Smith. He was my first professor that introduced me to Jiu Jitsu and kind of like showed me the way, I would say. After the time at Master Kim's, the Taekwondo place, we basically, they opened up the Gracie Barra here in Federal Way, and that was owned and operated by Professor Sean Joseph. And we just basically followed Professor Kevin, and we kind of just migrated. We kind of started the program at Gracie Barra, and we took over, not really took over, but we kind of like taught the kids class. Then we kind of just started to build up from the kids all the way up to the adults when Professor Kevin or Professor Sean wasn't around to run the classes.
Got it. The
rest is history.
Yeah. Well, so that's a question that I had, because you mentioned the kids class. How valuable did you find that? I mean, now you teach kids and adults classes, but starting off teaching kids, does that help one in terms of their ability to teach or run a school later on?
100%. You got to think of kids as a clean slate. When I say it's a clean slate, they have no bad habits, they have no habits. And you're basically in charge of trying to mold these kids to whatever you're trying to achieve, right? The biggest part for us now is to build confidence. I see that's the biggest thing, biggest asset that we should shoot for, is building confidence for our youth. Once you can start to understand how a kid thinks and a kid operates, it actually adjusts the way that you're going to teach, your teaching style, and translate that into an adult class as well. It's crazy how much adults don't even know their left and rights and whatnot. And you gotta, as an instructor, you have to have an open mind. I feel if you're stuck in a certain way and you're not understanding, you're not gonna be able to project what you're trying to teach. And you really gotta have an open mind, and you gotta be open to, like, especially with kids, right? You gotta have a lot of patience. And you have to understand, you gotta be able to bring yourself down. You can't talk to a kid or an adult down like you're greater than them. You have to be able to kind of lower yourself into a spot where you can actually, you're talking to them, not talking down to them. I think that's the biggest asset and the biggest thing that I've learned, is learning how to bring yourself down so that way you can start to talk to people like, same level, not, like you're superior to them. But I think that's what I don't, we're here to provide, as a martial artist and as a teacher. We're here to kind of help encourage people, right? And if we're talking down to people, it's like we're chasing them away because we're better and we have this and that, blah, 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 and so and so.
Got it. To humanize that instructor role.
Exactly.
No, I love it. That's awesome.
You gotta stay humble.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's another thing, I compete and I don't win a lot, but it doesn't change the next day I come back to class. I get tapped out by lower belts, and then what? What is that? I mean, is it going to change the way things are? No. The round is done.
Right.
And that's what we tell these people. We tell our students, right? The round is done. It's a new round.
Okay.
Learn from the mistake.
Sure. Well, that segues into another question I had for you in terms of what jiu-jitsu belts mean to you, because at least in my perception, on the one hand, they are a marker of like your physical skill on the mat, your ability to roll. Like a purple belt should be able to roll competitively with other purple belts, and blue belts, and so on. But we don't take away people's belts. I'm moving into my late 40s now, and my athleticism is not like what it was when I was in my 20s, and hopefully I'll be able to train for the rest of my life. And
that's the goal.
Yeah. As our physicality decreases, though, we don't take away people's belts or say you're not a black belt anymore, you're not a purple belt or whatnot. So it has to mean more than just your physical skill. So I guess with that in mind, what do belts mean to you? What does the ranking mean?
Ranking means to me that you put the time in, and that's the one thing that you can't take away. You're putting the time in, whether you're consistent or not. I'm gonna talk about this word consistent, okay? Because there's a difference between consistency and just doing it because you want to do it, or you feel like doing it. Or maybe your buddy's doing it, so you got to do it. If you rank up to, let's go use purple belt, brown belt, right? And stuff happens in your life, job change, your kids get older, and now you can't take your kids to jiu-jitsu. Now you're not coming to jiu-jitsu because you're only by yourself. You're going to be that small percentage that comes and trains because it's a activity, right?
Sure.
And you can't really frown upon that, right? It's everyone's individual personal journey, and you just gotta respect it, right? Every belt level that everyone has, you gotta respect it. So if they trained consistently, or maybe they did not, and they ranked to brown belt, right? They're a brown belt because they put in the time for brown belt. And if something happens in their life and they stop, it doesn't mean that they're not a brown belt no more. Yes, they're a little bit behind. Let's just be honest.
Sure.
If you're not coming to class, you're not learning. You go into open mat, you're not learning. You go to open mat, you're sparring.
Yeah.
It's either your hammer or your nail.
Yeah.
Period.
You get that instant feedback for sure.
That's it. Instantly. And when you're in class, you're actually absorbing, you're learning, you're getting the energy from your teammate, not kill, right?
Right.
You're actually learning, okay, this is what my instructor's teaching me. I'm gonna practice this skill, right? Now, if you come to open mat, man, it's you and them, and that's it. You slap hands, and whoever's gonna win is gonna win. That's it. So my take on it is this: come to class, learn what you gotta learn. It doesn't work for you, maybe next week the tech will be different, and then maybe that will work for you, and then just apply. But as far as belt levels, man, whatever belt level you stop in, it doesn't mean that you get taken away. It means that you earned that rank where you stop. But you got to also think, right, if you're an upper belt, whether it be brown, purple, black, or whatever, those other people look up to you. And if you're not putting in the work, and then what?
Sure.
That's my take on that.
There's a responsibility there.
That's the responsibility, and that's the consistency part of that.
Got it. No, that makes sense. No, I like that. I like that a lot. Well, and then I guess further downstream from that, as a school owner, with regards to those sorts of things, like looking at the responsibility of upper belts and whatnot, how do you or how have you worked to establish the gym culture that you do? Because your school has a reputation for having a really good gym culture, and that doesn't happen by accident. Like that's something that I think you really have to work hard at. So what are the ways that you keep it, honest, where your students are training hard, they are reaching those levels, but at the same time, it's not so hard-nosed that only elite athletes can train there and nobody else. How do you strike that balance?
That's a real good question. First thing I'm gonna say to that is this: it's the people in the school. It's not just myself. I can't take full credit. I always look at the members and our students, our Isla, that actually make the school what it is. And I know that wholeheartedly. I believe in all their students, if they come in and they want to put in the work, they show up, period. And as far as the culture building and everything, it's something that kind of, not just myself, but my family, we believe in this thing, right? We believe that if we want to be treated a certain way, we got to give them that, right? It's not about we always got to receive, right? I think that's the biggest misconception, is a lot of people like to receive things rather than give. And sometimes, you will give more than you will receive. Sometimes you'll get the ones that really appreciate the sacrifices that you make. Some of them will just kind of shrug their shoulder and be like, oh, he's supposed to do that. There's going to be that all the time, and you cannot make everybody happy. I've learned this so many times. And the biggest thing that I would say is to be fair. I mean, you can't be with a certain group of people 24/7 all the time.
Sure.
You got to find a way to spread yourself out and be fair, and also keep that morale going, right? If you're just kind of sticking close with a small group of people all the time, it becomes to that point where a lot of your students, your members, whatever you want to call it, they think it's kind of like you're playing favorites, right? And I think this happens a lot. And if you're always constantly trying to, even though you're not intentionally trying to do that, maybe you just get along with a certain group, that's great. But there's got to be a small line that you're gonna have to divide yourself, and allow everything to kind of happen organically. Where if they're gonna venture off and be with another group, don't get you don't get invited to the party, don't get all butthurt.
Sure.
Everyone outside the gym have their own little lives that they live, and they have this certain connection with certain people because of certain hobbies. Maybe they like to dance, maybe they like to go play pool, I don't know, whatever it may be, right? But you got to be able to find a way, as an owner, you got to find a way to separate yourself, just so that way it kind of keeps the playing field level.
Got it.
And it keeps everybody happy, even though it doesn't. You still got to find a way, and like I told you before, you're never going to make everybody happy. There's always going to be that little bit of something that someone's going to feel or whatnot, and it's just, man, it's hard. It's super hard, and you gotta take care of your family at the same time. I'm one of the lucky ones too, because not only myself train, my two kids train, my son Jace, my daughter Jada, my wife May. My wife does day classes because she doesn't like to train at night when it's too crowded, right?
Sure.
And it's too hot, she said. Whatever. But anyways, you got to find a way to kind of, I feel that the biggest thing is to be fair to everybody, not just paying attention to the athletes that always compete. You got to find that balance between the athlete and then the regular person that just comes in and does the class. I spoke about in the beginning that everyone has a different journey, and jiu-jitsu is something that is you're gonna have to customize to yourself.
Sure.
And you can't, if you're a follower and you're gonna follow somebody that competes or whatever, that's fine, but if it's not for you, it's not for you. You gotta find you. And I feel like if you're constantly waiting for your buddy's approval, or you're waiting for your little group's approval to do something, or you can't do it on your own, then you'll never know what you're capable of doing.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And you're always waiting for like, oh yeah, let's go. Hey, you go and I go. We'll have everyone go, and then we can all do this. And that's great. But what if you kind of did it on your own, and then you did it, and then you succeeded? And I feel that you can take that in any aspect of life, right? Whether it be training, your job, your family, making your bond a little tighter because you're more connected. I mean, man, I can go on and on.
Sure.
I can go on and on. I feel like also COVID was that thing for us.
Yeah.
You know,
In what way? Like,
in what way? Man, I'll tell you in what way. I lost my job during COVID. I knew who the real ones were, and I'm very grateful, and I'm still humbled by all the real ones, and all the real ones know who you are. The real ones love you.
no, that's. I agree. I agree with that thought, especially that like. We do want to foster a sense of community within our gyms. We want people to develop those friendships and relationships. On the other hand, we don't want it to become cliquish and like, or that people feel like there's favorites being played and that sort of thing. I guess further, if you could speak to this, because I think this is something that people don't realize, either those people that just go to a gym or those people that are thinking about running a gym. The back end work, as far as like, it's not just that you're training jiu-jitsu, but it's all the struggles behind the scenes that really don't involve jiu-jitsu stuff at all. I guess what have you faced that way? any thoughts about that?
That's
stuff?
a good one. Where do I start? Oh man. First of all, when you come to the gym and it's clean, someone had to stay back the night before to clean it. You know, I don't only teach jiu-jitsu, but I'm a professional floor cleaner. I'm a carpenter. I'm a painter. I wipe down the toilet after kids class. If they don't hit the toilet, I'm the one that cleans that up. You know, I wipe down the walls. You know, I think a lot of people have an idea to like what they want to do to run a gym, and I strongly feel that if you want to run a gym, I feel that you should do it. You should do it. That way, you can feel the struggles of a gym owner. And, you know, it's not only the membership, and I feel like if you're too focused on just the membership and you're people counting, I call it people counting because you're too focused on trying to draw more people in so that way your lineup looks good or whatever, and this and that. If you're chasing down people, trying to fill the mats, I think you're in it for the wrong reason. And the reason why I say that is my whole life, man, I was in customer service, like I mentioned earlier, and my boss at the time was really upset on how I do my job, because I never really like kept track of what I was doing or what I was selling, because I was getting paid commission. My idea of that is you work hard, you maximize your job, and that's it. Everything else will fall in line. That's my idea. And that concept and that idea is exactly how we run this school. I don't count the people. We have a program, and if you don't like the program, you can pick the 2 doors and you can leave the program.
Sure.
Being honest. I don't hold on to people's membership as far as if someone wants to leave and they feel that it's not for them, man, try all the schools. Before you sign up at any gym, try all the schools, because you got to find the one that fits you, right?
Sure.
The last thing you want is to pay a gym membership and regret it, hate it, don't like the instructor, don't like the instructor's wife, the instructor's kids, and blah, 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 and so, right? So the biggest part of that, man, is just, man, come to the gym that you feel happy. This is supposed to make you happy, right? And it's supposed to change your life, right? And now if you're coming in and you don't like it, and then you're making all these negative comments, and now you're changing other people's ideas and their the concept, and now you're like, I hate to put it like this, man, but you're like a cancer.
Sure.
And that's the one thing that's gonna ruin everything, right? If you're not happy, just cut the ties and leave, and sometimes you're gonna have to do that.
Yeah, I think that is great advice. Well, then, how do you feel about cross-training, like as far as your students going cross-training?
Let me tell you about that.
Yeah, please.
Train as much as you can with everybody. I strongly encourage it. The one thing that I like to really emphasize on is this: wherever the students that train here, whenever they go visit another school, the biggest thing is ask permission first, whoever owns the school. And a lot of our jiu-jitsu community here in the Pacific Northwest, I never seen how good we are with each other, you know. When I say we're good, I mean, we have guys that come in from Logic, Vital Jiu-Jitsu, Foster's. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on.
Sure.
Everyone is invited to come train at Isla. The only thing I ask is make sure that your professor, your coach at your own academy is willing for you to cross-train.
Sure.
Okay? But I will say this, as a business owner, okay? As a business owner, don't just train at open mats. You gotta be able to support a school. You have to support a school.
Sure.
What school? It's really up to you. But don't train open mat at Isla, open mat at this school, open mat at this school, open mat at this school. Now you covered your week of training.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's not fair.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair at all. And the reason why I say that as a business owner is, how can the business survive?
Sure. No, that would
How
be a
can the
struggle.
business survive? You know, the biggest things is, how do we all stay afloat, right? And it's not about us trying to steal other students, other people from other schools, because there's a lot of people that will like what everyone has to offer. And I think that's what makes it beautiful, having a selection of different schools within the area. You know, if one school offers something that really attracts you, maybe the community is good, maybe the jiu-jitsu is even better, maybe there's a gold medalist at that school, maybe this guy wears the nicest gis and we'll go train at his. You know, just kind of like giving you a whole bunch of different examples, right? Everyone is different, right? And I feel that that's why it's so important to do a trial. Finish up your trial, go to the next school. See what works for you.
Yeah, I definitely think that makes a lot of sense too. Well, and then I guess if you were, and I know you run into this on a regular basis as a school owner, but like if you're training only with your students as a black belt, as somebody who runs the school, you know, generally speaking, those are people who you've taught and they've been aware of your game. How do you continue your growth though, as far as like getting challenged? Do you go and cross train, or do you go to seminars, or like how do you personally contend with that? Is you just find that your students are enough and you can keep growing based on that?
My biggest thing is focusing my energy on our members. That's my biggest thing, right? For me personally, like my growth, I learned so much by training with our students, and I'm not just saying just with the adults in general. Our kids classes and our teens program and our juniors program, we actually have 4 different classes for our youth program. We have 4 to 6, 7 to 8, 9 to 11, and then 12 to 15. That's 4 different age groups a week.
Wow.
And the reason why we broke it down in that pattern is so that way we can have the right kids training with the right age group. You want to speak about growth? That's how you grow. The kids training with the right amount of age and size and all these variables, right? But anyways, training with the juniors and the teens, I'm actually in there with them, training.
Oh, okay, got it.
Some days are better than others. You know, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. So I start to understand how kids move and how I have to move as an adult because I'm a little bit bigger than them. But actually, some of these kids are like bigger than me. You know, I know what their parents feed them, but whatever. Understanding body movement, body mechanics are the main things that I like to really focus on my training now. I look at little gaps and little openings. I'm a little guy. I compete at light feather, which is weight limits 141 with the gi. And I kind of walk around 135, 138-ish on a regular day, a regular week, normal training. Usually when competition time comes, I cut down to 135, 134, so I can hydrate and compete, you know, at a good weight for IBJJF, which is the main federation that I compete in. And understanding that, I feel that's what keeps me honest.
Got it.
Yes, I do pick and choose on where I go for seminars and stuff. My main the main stuff that I like, the guys that I look up to, I guess, would be what I would say. Marcus Zaragoza, Heath Pedigal. These are just a few of the guys that I kind of really that helped build me, I say. And the stuff that they helped build me on was basically the way that their concepts, their ideas, not only the concept and ideas, but their personality alone, it attracted me. And the way of that they process things and the way they apply these things are very intriguing to me. You know, of course I don't try to mimic what they have or what they do, but I like the idea, and I just kind of do a little twist to what makes it work for me.
Got it.
And I make it my own, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and personalize it. No, that totally makes
Personalize
sense.
it, yeah.
Well, and then so here's the more controversial question: gi versus no gi. What's your philosophy on that? I guess your preference as a practitioner yourself, like what you like training more, and then do you try to prod your students into doing both? Is that really just a preference on their part type of thing too? Do you think there's value in both, or what are your feelings?
Yes, I do. I am a gi kind of guy. I did do a few tournaments with no gi. My preference, honestly, is gi. Like if I was, ever competed in, I like to compete in gi, but no gi's cool too. I'm nothing against it. I feel that everyone, like our students here as well, I recommend that they do no gi. I think it's an eye opener when they go to another school, and that school that actually just focuses on no gi.
Yeah.
Because that's a big eye opener, you know. The way that the moves are applied are a lot different. The speed is amazing. I was intrigued with it. I love no gi. I just don't do it enough, to be quite honest. We offer one day a week no gi here at our school. We have an amazing professor, Professor Mickey. Then we have our coach Julius Zanders. He's one of the instructors right now that's running our program. They both do an amazing job at our no-gi program, and the biggest part that I would say the benefit that you have in no-gi is the speed and control. When I say speed and control, is understanding that you cannot grip anything, but you have to learn how to pin, hold, and transition. Those are things that a lot of people need help with. With direction, I think a lot of people like to be told where they need to put their body sometimes, instead of just kind of making like, okay, if I'm over here, I need to replace this grip with my leg, and then after that transition. So that way you're still trapping and pinning before you actually start to move. So I feel that everyone should do no-gi. Everyone should try no-gi. Then when you transition that to gi and you're able to grip fabric, oh my God.
So much easier.
It's a whole lot easier, and I tell you what, it makes you a lot smarter on how to transition.
Yeah.
Because you're learning how to, like I said, move your arms, move your body, know how to pin, and then actually transition at the same time. So yes, do both.
Right on.
Do both.
I found that definitely tightened up my transitions, and then additionally to that, as far as training, how you split your time between like the stuff we do on the ground, which is the majority of it in jiu-jitsu, versus takedowns. I know that I've heard from a lot of school owners, if you put in a takedown specific class, a lot of times it's just not well attended. It's because it's hard physically. So what are your thoughts on that? Where does your focus lie as far as how much time should you spend training takedowns versus your groundwork in jiu-jitsu?
So we have the way that we run our curriculum is we try to do like 1 week same tech. That's how we kind of break it down. Some weeks we'll do takedowns. Some weeks we'll do guard. Majority of the time though, I like to focus on guard, just to be honest. And the reason why I like to focus on guard is because eventually you're gonna fall, you're gonna get on your back. You're gonna have to learn how to play off your back, right? Once you're comfortable playing off your back, you can make adjustments as needed, right? Just like jiu-jitsu, like anything in jiu-jitsu, right? You have to adjust. There's never a exact, this is how it's gonna fall. It's quick adjustments on the fly, just like life.
Yeah.
Right? As far as how much time do you need to spend, If we do takedowns, we'll probably run takedowns for like maybe a good 15 minutes, part of it in class. If the class is full, our mats will probably will accept at least 40 to 60 people comfortably, but trying to do like blast doubles with that many people, it's not gonna happen. So the stuff that I would say is we focus on entries, on how to enter the position without going all the way down to the ground or whatnot. And I feel that preserves their bodies. A lot of our student base here are mature. I would use the word mature, not old, because old is a very common phrase nowadays. I'll say mature with 401k, which is a good percentage of our student base. And guard is something that's very intriguing for me, right? And it's always about understanding how to get to the position, learning how to sweep from the position, and learning how to control that person after the sweep is achieved. If you can control, then obviously submission comes in time. But learning to control is one of the biggest things that I kind of dabbled with nowadays. I don't look like a smash passer or whatnot, but I try to focus a lot of my game now on heavy pressure passing and a lot of leg weaving. Is one of the stuff that I like to do nowadays. Yeah.
Sure, amen. I'm a big fan of that as well. Well, then a further breakdown to self-defense oriented training versus more tournament oriented training. Do you make much of a distinction of that with your students? Is it you just kind of see it as one and the same, or do you specifically say like, okay, well now we're going to train with strikes to see what that feels like? I guess what are your feelings that way on what jiu-jitsu, how that training should be oriented?
So the way that I take on that is this: if we're going to do a self-defense class, I feel that would be done on its own independently. That way you can take care of those students in that fashion of how to do the self-defense. A lot of the stuff that we do are a lot of tournament-based jiu-jitsu, and the reason why I say that is that we have a good amount of competitors in our school. The self-defense part of it, we do dabble with it. To be very frank and very honest, we don't dabble with it enough, in my opinion, just because we have a more competitive base student clientele. So there's a lot of that, and that juggle is very, very hard because you always got to find a way to kind of make everything connect with everybody, right?
Yeah.
And not to say that we're not spending enough time with the self-defense portion, or we're not spending enough time with the competitive side or the competition style jiu-jitsu. I will say is, if as an instructor, if you can find a way to talk to your clients, your students, and see like maybe how their day was and whatnot, and see if there's anything that that they want to kind of try to focus on, and then you can you got to really pay attention, I guess is the thing I got to say. You got to really pay attention to everybody, not just the competitors.
Sure.
I like to, I personally I like to shake everybody's hand. Before we start class, we always try to greet each other, and basically, hey, how was your day? Small stuff like that, right? And then when we can go through that, we can say, hey man, maybe we need to adjust this part of class, right? Maybe we need to do this instead of like super concentrated in a tournament. Maybe we should do something that will kind of benefit this person because of this person having this. So trying to understand, you gotta, the best way I can put it is this: you gotta read the crowd.
Yeah.
You gotta read the crowd, right? And if that's all you were doing is self-defense, man, and your crowd is really attentive to that, that's cool, right? If you're offering competition style jiu-jitsu, which would be like guard pulling and takedowns into this, and understanding all these fancy movements that upper belts are doing nowadays, that's more of a competitive tournament style training, then obviously you should say something, right?
Sure.
So trying to understand your clientele is super important, but I will say trying to add everything is really, really hard. It's like we talked about, it's really hard to please everybody, and the self-defense part, yes, is super important. It's super important. So we try to really push that with our kids program.
Sure, no, that makes sense.
With the kids
with that population.
With that
for
population,
sure.
understanding, how to, just the basic stance of having your hands up all the time, not making fists, the way that you're standing with your strong foot forward, strong foot backward, what have you, instead of just 2 feet parallel, shoulder width, easy target, head down instead of head up. All these little things that, that shows that, okay, I don't want to be a victim, those parts of that, I would say, are one of the things that we really try to focus on with our kids program.
Got it.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Because there are so many ways, at least that I've seen jiu-jitsu change, and I'm sure you've been training probably around the same length of time-ish, 20 plus years, something like that. But there's been a lot of changes in jiu-jitsu, and the current kind of competitive meta, like at the ADCC or New Wave or B team, kind of like no-gi, really fast outside passing, ultra-athletic movements versus like what was popular in jiu-jitsu, say in 1997. Like those look very different to me. And I could go off on that, but I'd be more interested in hearing your opinion. What are some of the ways you've seen jiu-jitsu change in the time you've been training or been involved with it? Like some of the cultural shifts or popularity or anything you want to speak to that way. What are some of the ways jiu-jitsu's changed?
The no-gi thing is really popular.
Yeah.
I'm blessed that I know a lot of high-level competitors. The way I would break it down is this. With those high-level competitors, they need to find a way to use, to have that jiu-jitsu that they're really good at to help support their life, right? And right now, because of the platform that this new generation that's coming up right now, this platform that we're providing are these athletes, there's not really that many paying events for gi, right? But yes, there's a lot of paying events for no-gi. So that part of that is beneficial for these high-level competitors, so that way they can make a living, right? And most of these high-level competitors, they do these seminars and whatnot, right, as a source of income, and we all kind of get attracted to their popularity or maybe their feed on Instagram or or what have you. And we go to these seminars, right, and they show us these techniques that help them get to their levels. But the platform that is provided for them is no-gi.
Sure.
ADCC, whatever, this whole like combat jiu-jitsu stuff.
Sure.
And these guys are so talented, they're so good. They have the job application for those events. Yeah. They have the body for those events, And they're just like everybody else. They're just trying to find their own, their own way. They're trying to find the way that they can support themselves and live that life, right? The jiu-jitsu life is a good thing to live. But the one thing that I will say that we all have in common is we don't have a 401k.
Truth.
We're living day by day, and if you're chasing, I'm gonna say it again. If you're chasing membership and you're trying to make, whatever, you're the wrong business. Because you'll be lucky to get a thank you sometimes.
Sure.
And like I said before, the no-gi part of it it's what makes it work for everybody. The new generation, right?
Sure.
And for us older guys, the gi, and we're just trying to show what we know. And at our own style, and that's why what I say, it's like it's so important to try all the different schools.
Sure.
To see what works for you. That's my take on that.
No, I like it. It's, speaking as an older guy who likes ski, like I am 100% on board with that take. What I think, I don't know if you'd agree with this, but the appeal of jiu-jitsu to me originally was kind of like that it was the everyman style. You didn't need to necessarily be an ultra athlete. To be an NCAA Division I wrestler, you were going to need to be an athlete. To be a jiu-jitsu black belt didn't necessarily mean you had to have elite level athleticism. You could have that would be great, but that anybody could learn the leverage points and that sort of thing to make it work.
Yes,
for them.
100%.
A lot more applicable. Okay, and I'd like to ask this question to everybody who comes on the channel to show technique. If you're advising somebody who's watching, who's either just started jiu-jitsu or they're thinking about starting jiu-jitsu, because that process can be hard on the ego and everything else at first. What advice or wisdom would you impart to them?
What I would do is, for someone that's going to start, is have an open mind. A lot of people, they have friends of friends, and then they get the input from them about a school or an individual. Have an open mind. If you're there's two types of people. Actually, there's different types of people, right? There's followers and leaders, right? If you're a follower, necessarily you don't have to follow every little step that the other person does. You still have to have an open mind on how to accept technique and criticism and everything else, right? And the other thing too is build that confidence to walk into a gym. Get to know the gym owner, get to know the way that they process, the way they think. Never sign up at the first gym that you try. Always try all the schools within your area. You know, some schools are like, man, nowadays they're like 5 miles apart, you know? And I think it's great that they're that close, because we all have something different to offer to the table. Right, and that's the one thing that we all need to understand. And it's you can't always think it's us against them, because it's never about, for me speaking, okay? For me speaking, I don't think it's us against them. What I think is, we have this is what we have to offer, that's what they have to offer. I think as a gym owner, that's the biggest thing that we should really push our students and push our own our clientele, and just let them know that it's not us against them, right? It's this is what we do, this is what they do. Let them be. Just do your own, right? I'm a little older now, and I don't, like I said, I'm not about the titles or anything like that. I'm about, you know, changing lives and building that confidence and moving forward in a lot of growth, right? And if you're always like kind of having this grudge and stuff, you're not gonna grow anywhere. You're gonna be old and grumpy. I'm just being honest, man.
Yeah.
Old, grumpy, and pissed off. You know, I like to come to the gym. You know, the crowd, the energy, man. That's the shit I live for, man. Excuse my language, by the way, but that's the stuff that drives me, man. Just watching someone that had no confidence, especially the kids, man. Head down, and they come to class, start building. You know, they get friends and they get accepted. You know, I think that's the thing that drives me, like how people get accepted, you know. To all the people that helped build me when I was younger and called me names, thank you so much, because I'll never be the man today without your help. So thank you if you're watching this.
Love it. No, that's awesome. Well, man, yeah, I think that's all so well put. All really good stuff. I really appreciate you coming on the channel, and I'm looking forward to what you have to show technique-wise. Isla Jiu Jitsu, please come check them out, and thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Let's grow, everybody. Let's grow.